Welcome back. Within the credit repair space, there are different approaches that are used by different credit repair professionals and different credit repair persons. One of the approach that is used is called factual disputing. What factual disputing does in a nutshell, because I will just give you these in a nutshell, just to give you a brief overview. What factual disputing does is that it basically mimics or, let me say, lean on the requirements of the FCRA that basically requires accuracy, right? Which the FCRA requires many other things. When we get into a third approach, I will show you. And the factual disputing, those who are proponents of this, are the practitioners of this, they basically just emphasize, find something that is wrong with the account, something that is negative, and then use that to dispute because everything on the account must be accurate. But what is factual disputing is actually, it is actually borrowing or relying on the consumer law approach without actually knowing that that's what they're doing. Because most of the time when I see individuals who does this, I emphasize that they don't realize that in the background of what they are doing is actually the consumer law requirement of accuracy and completeness. So if you don't have anything that is wrong with the account, then you're not going to get very far with this. You gotta have something that is wrong with the account in order to get results with this approach. There have to be some mistake, there have to be something that is missing, and so on and so forth. The next dispute, that is the one that is being the latest to be pushed as a fact, is the Metro 2 dispute. 99% of all those who do Metro 2 cannot explain to you how it works. I've never heard anyone take the time to sit down and explain to you how Metro 2 works. What is Metro 2? Metro 2 is the language that is used. So Metro 2 also relies on requirements that are buried within consumer law, the FCRA. Within the FCRA, there's a requirement of using reasonable procedure, right, in order to make sure that everything is accurate and verifiable and complete. So what the consumer reporting agencies did, they basically developed a language. They developed a language in order to communicate this data so that there is consistency in how the data is reported. That language is called Metro 2 compliance. So the Metro 2 approach is a compliance approach, which means it's like I am saying to you, for example, we are going to speak about credit reports, but you only can actually speak to me using English. And for each thing that we are going to discuss on the credit report, we're going to dispute late payment, we're going to dispute, sorry, not dispute, we're going to speak about late payment, we're going to speak about repos, we're going to speak about collection. This is the code that you have to use. If you're going to speak to me about collections, you have to use the letter A. If you're going to speak to me about repo, you have to use the letter R, and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that's Metro 2, but I'm giving you an example. So that's what Metro 2 is. It's a standardized language that the accounts have to be reported in. Once the accounts are not being reported in, and there are actually codes and different ways that it has to be reported to communicate in Metro 2. Now, those who use Metro 2, most of those who use it, they don't write these letters. They use software, especially AI software, and a lot of what the software does and what is basically going on the back end. The most of the personnel who actually are using this cannot explain to you how it works and what is going on and what is the issue. So here is the weakness in Metro 2. All of those dispute strategies that I give you, Metro 2 and factual disputing, they do work. They get results. But you are at a disadvantage with Metro 2 in that the vast majority of those who use it cannot tell you what they are doing and why they are doing it. In most cases, I have only ever seen one person basically uh, tried to say something on this, but I've never seen anyone that have explained it because a lot of times, as I said, it's software driven, and those who are doing it can't tell you. So it in the background of the FCRA where the reasonable procedures are required. So both Metro 2 and factual disputing are pivoting off requirements in consumer law, and a lot of time those who are doing them don't really realize this because they don't really know the laws. So for as it is with factual disputing, if there's no mistake, you can't get any result. The same is true with Metro 2. If the account is reported properly and it is reported compliant, then you can't get anything off with it. Comes in the third approach, which I think is the king of all approaches, consumer law based approach. With consumer law based approach to credit repair, which if you follow my channel, you know that this is the approach that I take. There are a few individuals that are using consumer law, but I'm gonna do a separate video on the problems with some of what is going on in the consumer law space with the level of misinformation that is being presented and a lack of understanding of the laws and how certain laws work. The consumer law based approach, a lot of people run away from it because it's a lot of information that you have to learn. And the information that you have to learn is not easy because it's legal information. And a lot of times, a lot of those who are actually trying to come in on it don't have the time to really spend to really study the law. What you have with consumer law is that you have several different approaches to getting result with the consumer law because there are several different requirements and there are requirements in different laws. You have requirement that can be used from the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. You have requirement that can be used from the Fair Credit Billing Act. You have requirements that can be used from Truth in Lending Act. You have requirements that can be used from the Graham Lease Bailey Act. You have requirements that can be used from the FDCP, the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. You have requirements that can be used from the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You have requirements that can be used. There is no end in sight from the Credit Card Act. There is requirements that can be used from the Dodd-Frank Act. So there's so many different laws, and each of these laws, you gotta really understand what's going on and know what to use with what, and then you can do dispute stacking where you are using different laws. Then, mirrored with it, all of those that I have just given, they are federal laws. Then you have the state laws that mimics the federal laws that you can add to your dispute. So that is why I say consumer law is king. And sometimes there are certain things in the dispute or certain things that is going on with the account that whether you are actually right or whether you are wrong, you can get actual results. Because some of it is based upon procedures. And once you understand the procedures that have to be followed, you can get up. So it is not handicapped like Metro 2 where you have to actually have some form of compliance misstep in order to get results. Or factual disputing where something has to be wrong on the account for you to get results. Even though one of the biggest problems in credit reporting is accuracy and completeness. All right, so if you don't have anything wrong with Metro 2 or factual dispute, you can't get any result. But with consumer law, you can actually dispute accounts purely from procedural compliance where procedures weren't followed, and as a result, the account got to go. There are certain things with consumer law that is just you don't have to have anything wrong with the account to get deletions or get it good. So that is why consumer law approach is the best approach to doing credit repair disputing, and it is the king. I call it the king of credit repair disputing because all the other two disputing approach actually is relying on something that is in the FCRA that is required, which is consumer law. But those who push them most of the time don't realize that they're actually relying on what the requirements of consumer law. But as I said, the problem is it's a lot of information that you gotta consume, and some of these laws are not easy to understand or simple, especially if you don't have a background in how to read texts, how to really understand language and the working of language. And that is why we have a lot of mistakes being made in the consumer law space and a lot of bad information being presented and quoted from laws that are not being read in context. But that is the three approaches, and I would encourage you to learn consumer law. You can learn the other approaches because they do work, they do produce results, but they are not as lethal as consumer law, they are not as comprehensive as consumer law, and they are not as far reaching as consumer law. And consumer law, once you understand it, you will be able to understand when you are being violated, what is the violation, and what are the avenues that you can actually use to get the results that you are looking for. But one of the biggest takeaway with consumer law, you can get money. Once you're violated and it meets certain requirement, you can be paid for the violations. And sometimes you don't even have to have a credit repair violation. You can just have a procedural violation. You can have Graham Lee's violation. You can have other violations, and as a result, you get paid because there are remedies that are built within the consumer law. So that is how lethal the consumer law approach is. But as I said, it's a lot of information. I hope this was helpful to you. These are the three approaches, the three dominant and main approaches. And within consumer law, there are different aspects to it. You can dispute on the basis of accuracy, you can dispute on the basis of verifiability, you can dispute on the basis of permissible purpose, you can dispute on the basis of completeness, you can dispute on the basis of certification. So there's a lot of different approaches built within it, and then for each law you have different requirements and different things that you actually need to use. As I go along, I will make different videos touching on different things. I want to deal with some of the issues that are in the consumer law space that I see, and I want to make some comment on that. I hope this video was helpful. Peace. Have a good day.